Okay. And before we start, please allow me to acknowledge the beautiful territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam Nation on which our campuses are located on. My name is Caroline Despatie. I'm the Associate Dean for Business Administration, the School of Business and Media. Along with Natalie Anderson, we'll be your host today and throughout the session. If you do have questions, we encourage you to put them in the Q&A at the bottom. We're trying to minimize the use of chat because it's a little crazy. If we do, so we just keep, if you want to write your question in Q&A, we'll make sure to answer. That icon is located at the bottom. Our Summer Student Success Series is really there to assist you to be successful in your studies starting fall. It's mostly geared towards first-year students, although there's lots of information that could be valuable for second years as well. Our Monday sessions are mostly aimed at, or they are aimed at full-time students, so people coming in a full-time program, where Tuesday sessions are more for part-time students. So if you can't attend one or the other, you can certainly join in on another night, but better to be with your targeted group. So what I'm going to do a quick poll before we start here on how many sessions have you attended so far. This is our fourth one. So Natalie, if you want to put that question up. Okay, so including this tonight, how many have you attended either live or have you watched a recording for? Oh, we actually have a following. Half of you have been to all of them, so it must be, or have seen all of them. I don't know if you're attending live, but that's awesome. So really exciting to see this. So thank you for answering this. This gives us a bit of a, oh, sorry. I'm trying to have a bit of an idea how this is working. Okay, so your facilitator today is Charlotte Culver. Charlotte, you can give us a little wave.
Here we go.
Yeah, perfect. Charlotte's an instructor in Business Administration Department. She's been at BCIT for over 20 years, I think,
I
or
try
longer.
not to tell people that, actually.
I know, but the reason I say it because she knows a lot. So if you have questions, she's been the program head, she's developed curriculum, she's teaching many of our courses in business management, organizational behavior, so definitely a wealth of knowledge you have with you today. She joins us today with 6 guests, 3 graduates and 3 current students. She'll introduce them in a little bit. And again, today the topic is how to be successful with your online group work, which you're all going to be doing. As you know, we're online in September, so group work is going to be done online. Some classes, I think in broadcast and media, will be face-to-face. You'll hear about those if you're in those classes, but the majority of our classes are online. So I'll remind you this at the end, but we are skipping next week because it's a long weekend. We thought we'd give you a break, and we're coming back on Monday, August 10th. With a session on how to develop a study routine while studying online. So thank you again for joining us today. If you have any questions, please write them in the Q&A, and I'm gonna pass it on to you, Charlotte.
Thank you very much. I'm excited. This is very cool to be able to talk to the incoming first-year students already is wonderful. I think it's a brilliant idea. It allows us to reach out to you and you to kind of see what the world is going to be like starting in September. I'm going to change the screen. I'm going to share my screen now. And just a minute. Whoops, did that wrong. Here we go. And I have a question just so you get a little bit of practice using that Q&A. Oh, just a minute. What have we done here? Somebody tell me, is my screen being shared right now?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So right now, what I want you to do, for those of you who are listening, could you please just in the Q&A section, type in the program that you are enrolled in. Are you enrolled in marketing? Are you enrolled in business management, operations, human resources? What are you enrolled in? Okay, nice. We've got some marketing. What else? Accounting, excellent. Human resources, terrific. Okay. Okay, television, video, lovely. Operations, yes. BMO, nice. Marketing, finance, business management, excellent. Okay. Oh, we've got a great cross-section of the School of Business. This is just wonderful. Ah, so good, so good. All right. If you haven't tried out the Q&A, this gives you a chance to see what this is like. Today, what are we going to do? We're going to go through 3 things. I am thrilled to have 3 alumni with us, and they are going to talk to you about their work experience with virtual teams, what that one's like, and give us a story and tell us what work is like in virtual teams. I'm going to tell you from my experience with students what 3 secrets that I have seen over and over again that would really move your virtual team ahead. It would help a great deal. And so I'm going to tell you those 3 things, and then we're going to get our 3 current students going into 2nd year, and they're going to tell you what life was like in a virtual team, because they were in a virtual team in term B, in that March to May section on spring. All right, so we're going to just get started. We're going to go right ahead. Our 3 panelists today from the alumni world, the people that are out there working, they have been through the 2-year diploma. So it is, they know what you're walking into. We have Jacob from Best Buy, we have Richard, who is in bench accounting, and we have Katie, who is with, and I've just got your name covered there, there it is, Hill Sound Equipment. So I'm going to turn it over, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to hand it over to these 3 panelists. And if the 3 of you could tell us what life is like in the world of working with virtual teams. Okay, I'm going to stop. There we go. It's all yours, Jacob.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much, Charlotte. So I guess I'll kick this panel off. So when Charlotte asked me to be part of this a month ago,
Jacob, can you turn your video on?
Yeah, sure. You know what?
Nope, maybe you can't.
Let me try this. Yeah, because the host has stopped it apparently.
Aha. Natalie, is there any way that Jacob, Richard, and Katie could turn their video on right now or not? Don't want to spend too much time on that.
I've changed the permissions. They can go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you could see my
your beautiful
lovely
face.
There we go.
Are.
Hey, everyone. So yeah, when Charlotte asked me to be part of this a month ago and to share my experiences with virtual teams and virtual workplaces, my mind immediately naturally went towards this global pandemic that we're all facing today. I'm currently part of the retail industry as part of Best Buy Canada, so it's been eye-opening for me to see how everybody at the organization has been able to shift their operating environment towards virtual teams, especially in an industry that's really rooted, has its ties to face-to-face, in-person contact. But really, the more that I thought about it, truth be told, even before this pandemic started, I'd like to say that there has been a considerable shift towards virtual teams, much more so now than when I graduated from BCIT in 2014 and when I started in 2011, which is some time ago now. Best Buy as a company, for example, we've had a work from home pilot which allowed us to work from home a couple of days a week. But I'd like to say even when we were at work, a lot of our work was virtual. Myself personally, as the reporting analyst in consumer insights, I'm responsible with equipping all our lines of business, retail, e-commerce, Geek Squad, the contact center, with any consumer experience data they may need to make decisions. So in order to do that efficiently, it requires a lot more virtual connections than in-person ones. We're a really big organization. There are 1,000 of us in our head office in Canada, not including across the stores in nationwide and all our third-party vendors that we work with globally as well. So it isn't really efficient for me to walk from one end of the building to another just to talk to somebody that I need to work with. And in a lot of cases, it isn't really possible. So as such, a lot of our teams work within Microsoft Teams to communicate. We use project management tools like Jira or Confluence to provide status updates to the rest of the organization. And I think really that foundation has been able to let us transition really easily towards this new normal. Over the last 4 months, obviously a ton of curveballs have been thrown our way, much like everybody else. But we really had to change a lot of our consumer experience metrics, the questions that we ask our customers, how we ask these questions, what data does our leadership team want to see, and how we present this data, especially since, we're all at home. So we've had to do all these changes, again, virtually, which is crazy to think, because I think, we've done a good job, probably even a better job than what we would have done when we were all in the office. So I think, the situation that we're in now has expedited the shift towards virtual teams, but this shift has existed prior to this whole pandemic, and it'll 100% impact, the work environment that you guys graduate into in the next 2 years. I hope before then we work out all the kinks, because there definitely are pros and cons to this entire experience. So, it'll be really interesting, and I'm interested to hear, what the other panelists have to say about their experiences and how their industries have reacted, as well as how the second year students, how they've had to adjust their studies as well. Because it's definitely been, I'm sure, a profound impact on how you guys will be learning in September. But I think with that, I'll virtually hand over the mic to Richard, who's the next panelist.
Oh, hi, I'm Richard. I am at Bench Accounting. I'm on our partnerships team, and I focus on partner marketing. So it's interesting because most of my work was already digital. Since I'm on our partnerships team, I spend probably 75% of my day interacting with other partners. Bench provides bookkeeping for small businesses based in the US. So we're a technology company, it's a service, so it's SaaS. All of our other partners are also technology providers. So it's a lot of things like Square and Stripe for payments, or Gusto for HR. So yeah, most of my time is already spent working virtually, because most of our partners, since our clients are based in the States, our partner services are also based in America. I would be able to go and visit them like once, maybe max a year. But now I'm seeing them once or twice a week on Zoom. The biggest shift for me has been working with my internal team. So like my business development team and my marketing and brand teams. That's been the biggest shift for me, because I used to just see them in the office, stop by their desk, ask a couple questions, say hi, how are you doing? But pretty much all of my actual like partner work, meaning like content strategy, relationship management, project updates, that was already done virtually, but now I'm doing everything from home. So luckily I didn't have that big of a shift. And because our work is focused on digital technology, all of our clients were already used to us working remotely. So I've had it pretty easy with the transition. I would definitely say the biggest like piece of advice that I can give to people like at any technology company, or sorry, anywhere, it doesn't matter if you're at a technology company or if you're at BCIT, is definitely, if you're working remote, you need to be using project management software. Find something that your team likes to use and use that, like be very vigilant about using it for everything, because if you're not able to see people and just like stop by their desk or say hi when you run into them, you're not going to get the little updates that you need to get your projects done, or you're going to miss context, or you're just not going to get that connection. So you can use your actual like meeting time that you have over Zoom a lot more effectively than just status updates. You can actually be like having bigger discussions, moving projects forward instead of just doing status updates. So yeah, my transition to digital work from home was pretty lucky. I already worked from home once a week. I was already used to working with people virtually for the majority of my work. So yeah, I would say use project management software so you can actually stay in touch over Zoom and get your like high quality work done there. And do try and get to know your colleagues and peers as much as you can over Zoom, social, whatever that is. So it's easier to get work done because you know each other a bit better. It's enough rambling for me. Katie, your turn.
Thank you, Richard. So as Charlotte mentioned, I am currently the operations coordinator for a small company. It's called Hillsound Equipment. And similar to the past two panelists, it wasn't that big of a shift going from the office to working from home, just because our team is actually quite small. So what that means is I am my entire department. So I don't really have that much interaction with my colleagues on a day-to-day basis. However, I actually want to share a different story because right at the beginning of the coronavirus, before we went into lockdown, I actually was also just hired for a part-time contract job for Bumble. So you guys are probably familiar with Bumble. It's a social networking app. And that experience was quite different because I was just hired onto the job, onto a team of 3. And we were all based in Vancouver, but obviously we didn't have the opportunity to really get to know each other in person. So quite similar to you guys, you'll be thrown onto teams and you might not really know your classmates that well. So you're not sure how they work, you're not really sure their best method of communication, etc. So that's something that I found I had to learn kind of on the fly, joining this new team in a virtual workspace. So even though we had different roles, so myself, I was in charge of media. So I was looking for people to market the events that we were planning, whereas my other 2 colleagues were in event planning and partnership management. So we all had very different roles. However, we had to execute on one common task for each month. So something that I really learned, and that is probably going to be applicable to you guys, is that even though it might seem easiest to just divide up your work at the beginning of a project, what's really important working on a virtual team is that you still find that time to collaborate and communicate with each other, as well as, like Richard mentioned, it's really important to get to know the people that you're working with. So what I found was really effective on working in that virtual team was first that we set up a WhatsApp group chat. So in between our meetings, we were still staying connected. If you have like a one-off question, it's really easy to connect with your team member, your colleague, to kind of figure out what's going on before those weekly or bi-weekly meetings. As well, anytime we had a meeting, we made sure to set it up, like a week in advance, just to recognize that, we're all trying to adjust to this work from home or school from home situation, and just kind of recognize that we're all managing that in a different way. So just being mindful and giving people time to prepare for those meetings. And as well, something that's probably my biggest piece of advice is to set an agenda anytime you go into a meeting, just because it's way easier to get off topic when you're not speaking to someone face to face. So what we would do is we would create a shared Google document. We'd write out the agenda for the meeting, and then each member would write down their speaking notes for that scheduled meeting, just so everyone had an idea of the flow of the meeting, et cetera, going into it. So yeah, that work from home experience was a bit different, just because, like I said, I didn't know my colleagues going into that role. So I feel like that will probably be more similar to you guys, just like being new students at BCIT.
That is so intriguing. I think both Katie and Richard have talked about the getting to know each other, the keeping in contact with each other over and above, as you said, Richard, yes, you do your status updates. Katie, you had your meetings, but you've mentioned, we need to connect as people. I'm wondering, Jacob, you said you're used to, just chatting to people you already know. How do you keep contact with those people on a casual basis?
Yeah, no, it is. I was, thinking of this has been 5 months since we've been doing this. I've been thinking, okay, will this work long term? And I think the one thing that we've struggled with, at least our team has struggled with, we're a relatively small team as well, just a team of 5, is, I guess, being, how do I put it, like emotionally in tune with the other person. Like when you're sitting down in a cubicle with your team, you could tell when, your coworker's frustrated or has a little bit too much on their plate. And now, although we have our project management tools, although we have our group chats and everything, it's a lot less organic. You have to really make an effort to keep up with it, as Katie and Richard have both mentioned. So I guess that's kind of what we've been doing. We've made an effort, and we have every Friday we'll have a happy hour scheduled in.
Okay.
It's not as organic, but it's there. And I think with things like that, you have to be conscious about reaching out and telling people, okay, I'm having issues with this. Are you having issues with this as well? What can I help out with? But it definitely is a conscious effort. It's a lot more difficult when you're all at home.
Interesting stuff. If anybody has a question for our three panelists, can you go ahead? We're wide open for questions right now. That intrigues me. Katie, working with a team that you didn't know ahead of time certainly mimics what these students are going to go into in September. It sounds like Jacob and Richard, you were working with people that maybe you had worked with before, so you had that prior connection. But I think that starting a new team that you don't know these people, that is much more difficult. So the question that has been posed right now is, what was the hardest course you guys took? Well, you have to be very careful because there's an instructor in the room.
One of the econ courses, that's for sure.
Oh, is that right? Was it the econ?
I would say the econ courses were difficult, but surprisingly, it's the stuff I remember the most because you had to study the most for it.
I still have nightmares about management science. But like now I very poorly build dashboards in my day job, so I use some of those skills.
Okay, there you go. Skills being used, yeah.
Yeah, I would probably say econ as well, although I actually didn't fulfill my econ courses at BCIT. I fulfilled them at UBC, but I imagine it's similar. I would say that one, that course is what I had to dedicate the most time to, for sure.
We have a question about the broadcast, how much teamwork will go into broadcast and journalism. All programs will have teamwork. So all programs, the broadcast, it's been a few years since I've taught TV, but I used to teach the TV group, and I know that the TV group did a large team project in their very first term. So I'm pretty sure that broadcast has as much teamwork as anybody else does. There's another question that says, do you guys still enjoy your work as much when it's remote? Good question, because it certainly has shifted and it's probably not going back anytime soon. I don't know. What do you think? Do you still enjoy your work as much?
I'd say I enjoy it more so, I guess, because, well, I mean, I get up at 9 and I'm there. That's the biggest advantage. But no, I think it's a changing environment. So it's more so that there's a whole bunch of different, projects on my plate that different to what I used to do, that has added complexity, which has been an extra challenge. So I would say these curveballs have been enjoyable. We'll have to wait and see how this lasts, though. Yes.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Jacob. Personally, I'm someone that likes to have a workday that's not the same every single day. So I've actually quite enjoyed the challenge of having to adapt and not necessarily knowing where the industry we're in is going, but it's been quite cool to see, how it's reacted. And just another example I can give is in my industry, typically a big part of it is international trade shows. So a big interesting thing I've noticed is the shift towards virtual trade shows. So yeah, I think although I do miss seeing my coworkers on a day-to-day basis, it also has its perks, and it's been quite interesting to see, how different companies are changing. And yeah, it's been fun so far. We'll see how long it lasts, though.
Yeah, I still really like my job. I miss seeing my team every day, and like just the people who just aren't on my team that I just don't interact with because I don't see them in the kitchen or in the hallway. I do miss that, but I find I get a lot more work done just because I'm not like running around like a 2-floor office, like going to meetings. So yeah, like there's definitely pros and cons. I'm used to it now, so it just kind of is what it is. But yeah, I still really do like my job.
Okay, nice. We're going to answer this one last question, and then I'm going to actually thank you, and we're going to move on here. I'm just cognitive of my timing here. The question is, how important is a degree or an industry certification in the job market? I know what my answer would be, but what do you think, the three of you, real quick?
I would say it's important. I think it definitely equipped, like the diploma definitely equipped me to be ready, to jump right into the workforce. I was actually offered a job right after the diploma. I said no because I wanted to finish the bachelor's, the BBA program as well, more so for long-term prospects. I think it would be helpful to have that as a part of your resume.
Yeah, I agree. I also finished my diploma and then I jumped right into the bachelor's as well. And I found looking for a job that it was quite competitive when I was searching. So definitely just having a degree on your resume is great to even get your resume considered. So I would say it's very important. Yeah.
I think if you can get a degree, definitely do, or certification, whatever you're looking to do. But I'd say like the best part of going to school is you get a lot of opportunities from being a student. Like I had to do a consulting project when I was at BCIT. I did a couple co-op semesters when I was doing my degree at SFU, and those work experiences and connections that I built were really, really helpful to getting me where I am today. So like, yes, the degree is important, but the opportunities that come like in tandem with going to school are just as important. So definitely do make time and effort for them. So yeah, I wouldn't worry so much about getting straight A's, get the degree, but also like get as much experience as you can while doing it.
Charlotte had a panic attack.
I'm just looking at the three of you. I think Jacob, you ended up working for your consulting project company, and Richard, I don't remember. You did end up, and Katie, I can't remember whether you ended up working for them or not. I don't think you did.
No, I didn't, but same industry. So it's interesting how that worked out. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to say thank you to the three of you. It has been amazing to hear your stories, and a little window, pardon the pun there, a little window on your work life. I will say, Richard, you're absolutely bang on. Education at BCIT is all about those industry connections, and virtual or not, we are working very hard to maintain those industry connections. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for the three of you. I really appreciate that. I'm going to start sharing my screen right now. All right. We are going to have, okay, Natalie, I think we are going to do a quick poll just from listening to your panelists and your own experience for the incoming first-year students. What do you think, virtual work? What do you think is the best part of the virtual work? You can either take some of the things that Katie, Richard, and Jacob have mentioned, or just your own ideas from virtual work. Yeah, I see that the no commute is winning by far here. I agree. It is very, very lovely. Carolyn, who is also on this webinar, has a longer commute than certainly I do. And Carolyn, you must be loving not having this commute every day. There we go. All right. So that's interesting. Shorter, more productive meetings. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And I think that that's certainly something that can be attained if you are very good at staying with an agenda. All right, thank you very much. We're going to move on. I'm going to talk to you, there we go, on three different things: trust, communication, and technology. And in fact, our three panelists have already talked about that. So the first one is trust. And this is just a reminder. When you are in a team, and it doesn't matter if it's a student team or a work team, It's a very interesting thing, and research has told us this over and over again. Your team members will trust you to begin with almost automatically. What you will do in working with your team is you will either prove that you are worthy of that trust or you will break the trust. And we all know that once somebody has broken our trust, it is very, very difficult to get it back. So trust, very, very important. You don't get to see these people live. You have to talk to them, and they have to trust that what you say is going to come through. The next one is about communication, and it's interesting. All three, Katie, Richard, and Jacob, have mentioned this. And when we talk about communication, it is as much about process as it is about the platforms we use. And Richard has talked about status updates, and Katie, you talked about the WhatsApp and just the little connections. Jacob, you talked about getting to know people. And I think that that is so, so important. Do not just get to straight into work. Have that, I don't know, beer on Fridays. Have the, do something so you get to know each other as people, as well as being very, very clear on how the process of your team is going to be. Students, when you come into, and my next three students are going to remember this, but one of the things that we do a lot at BCIT with students is we start working on a team charter. It's something that we all work on, and you will do it with your team. And the underlying principle of the team charter, there's lots of bits and pieces in there, but really what it is to clarify expectations from each other. Natalie, can you put up that next poll? It's about how much time you expect to spend with your virtual team. There's an interesting thing, and I'm curious for all the people that are coming into school for the first time at BCIT, what is your expectation? How much time do you expect to spend with your team members, not just on BCIT, but with your team members every single week? What I want you to see is the results are very different. We have about an even breakdown of 2 hours, 3 hours, and 4 hours. We have a few more people that are willing to spend more than 4 hours a week, and we have one person that is willing to spend 1 hour a week. It's a very interesting thing. You need to clarify. There is no right answer, by the way. There is no right answer. The answer has to be agreed on within your team. What is it that your team will expect from each other? One team may say, yep, we're going to spend lots of time together. And the next team says, no, we're going to have very productive meetings and we're going to work independently. Otherwise, the biggest thing you can do is be honest with each other and clarify how you want to spend your time. So clarifying expectations from your team member, huge, so important. The last one is technology. And let's see, Richard, you mentioned Microsoft project. We're using Zoom, obviously. Katie, you mentioned Google Docs. I think Jacob, you also used Microsoft Teams. There's lots of platforms out there. And so whatever you choose, there's not a one way, there's not an only way, but it has to be accessible to everybody in your team. It has to be usable by everybody in their agreed on, all right? So I'm going to just recap here my 3 things. Trust, maintain it, don't break it. Communication, remember that you are still people. You need to get to know each other as well as have very clear processes. Have those meeting agendas, have those set times for meetings. Both of those things are very important. And lastly, be clear on expectation between team members, and then the technology. I have a question on the side, and I'm going to answer this one live. The question is, will all our courses in the first semester change halfway through? And that's a really interesting and complex question, believe it or not. It really depends on the program that you're in. There are some programs that will have the same courses all the way through September to December. There are some programs that will have some courses September to December and some courses that will be 7-week courses. So you will get that very clear and laid out for you in your orientation. Each program will have an orientation specific to your program closer to September. So your orientation will clarify exactly how those courses are. So I will say the bottom line is you will be in a set of courses from September to December. Some of you will have courses all the way through. Some of you will have a break, not a break, sorry, 2 sets of courses for the first half and second half of the term. Complex question. It seems like
Charlotte,
pretty straightforward.
Sorry, can you hear me, Charlotte?
Yeah, I sure
Sorry,
can.
I'm interrupting. It's mostly business management student, HR, and marketing students that have more condensed course. If you're any of those 3 programs, you'll hear from your program head at some point. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. That's great. All of these students have completed. Alvin, you have completed first year business management, and Dion, you have completed first year human resources. In September, you will begin your second year of your diplomas. As these people will tell you right away, the first year started for these people face-to-face, and then in March, of course, life changed and we went to virtual. So I am going to stop sharing my screen again right now. There we go. Harbeen has her video on. Great. Dion, there you are. And Alvin, wonderful. I'm going to just hand it over to you. Go ahead, tell us.
Okay.
What was it like to maybe do that transition? What worked for your virtual teams? What didn't work for virtual teams? Tips and tricks for these people coming in September.
Hi, guys.
Harbeen, you want to start us off?
Yeah, no worries. So my name is Harveen Kindas, Charlotte mentioned, and I'm now enrolled in the second year of the business management program. So when BCIT transitioned to virtual classes, it was a bit different in the start. However, in like a matter of time, transitioning to online classes was getting a bit easier. The main thing I was struggling with in the start was that I won't have the right communication with any of my instructors. For example, what if I want to discuss an assignment or my grade? I thought it would be harder to get a hold of my teachers. However, this wasn't really the case at all. All the instructors were really supportive and responsive, and like I believe it'll stay that way, to be honest. During our online classes, like our instructors always answered our questions in the best possible way they could, and they were also willing to meet up separately online to discuss any other questions a student may have. Not gonna lie, this is like probably the biggest relief, as I was struggling with having all my classes moved online.
Okay.
So one more thing I would like to share with you all is one of my experiences in a virtual project. So when it came to virtual projects, I did have this one group of 4 people with one of the members barely being present. And to be honest, this can happen. Like, this can happen that there might be a member sometimes not present, and that one member only showed up sometimes to our online meetings that were done on Zoom. So this weighed down on our group a lot because it did get confusing at times on like how to split the work because of that individual. Like, we had a group chat on WhatsApp for this project with us 4 members where we first communicated with that individual. And we also sent out a small warning that will be also covered in the team charter that usually all programs go through. And right when we thought it was getting better with the team member, everything started to go downhill again. So after contacting our instructors a second time regarding the team member, the person was officially removed from our group. And this made everything way easier. So after this, the communication between us remaining 3 members was consistent and effective, and we kept ourselves updated mostly from WhatsApp and emails. We didn't let this one group member slow us down. So one thing I can say is to create an effective group, like Scheduling regular meetings and having a clean and detailed deliverables within the group will help you succeed in your projects. And I believe like this is the key for group work. And now I'd like to introduce Alvin that will be speaking next. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Harvey. So as you guys heard from her, my name is Alvin. I was taking the BMGT, so the business management course, and I'm moving also to the second year. I think one important thing that I'd like to expand on first is what Katie and Richard talked about too, even Jacob, and it's about communication. I actually had the blessing of pretty much meeting my my classmates face to face, so I was able to understand pretty much their work habits. I was able to like just get close to them, and with what Charlotte talked about, like trust. It was a lot easier to develop trust when you meet them face to face. It's like a whole different experience. So I think one important thing that you guys need to do is actually understand how to contact your students. Usually in the beginning year, we always make this WhatsApp classroom group chat where everyone in the classroom is included. And we pretty much just talk to each other on there and help each other. So that's going to be one thing that's going to be really important, especially in your virtual teams, to be able to constantly keep in contact with them and to create that WhatsApp group chat, as Katie said. Another thing is pretty much like I found it interesting because I think about 25% of you guys said one of the pros to virtual teams was shorter and productive meetings, but yet 33% of you said about like you would spend 4 hours or 4 more hours together in 1 week. It's important to keep an agenda for each meeting. Usually we'd have like 1 or 2 posts. We'd probably just have it like an hour for meetings. That's probably how you keep it productive. And then throughout those times, those breaks, the week breaks, pretty much, you want to keep in contact with each other in like WhatsApp and just constantly check up on each other. It's really important to like just keep that motivation up for everyone. I've even had one time where one of my team members didn't reply for about, I say a week. And that's when we decided maybe the person dropped out. And this is in the middle of a project too. So it's pretty important that you constantly just check up on your team members and just see what they've been up to, see the progress, and just follow that agenda. Have like pretty much what you need to do in that meeting and what you plan to do for the next meeting, and then decide within the meeting what you need done pretty much for the next meeting. But yeah, overall, it's pretty much just communication and trust. Virtual teams with teachers are pretty easy. They usually keep up to date with you guys. If you need help, they always have meetings, slot times for meetings pretty much with them. But it's a lot of independence. It's switching from to a virtual team is more independence. You have to definitely have to trust other people, but you also have to understand that you have a big responsibility where they also trust you, and you need to keep up with their expectations in order for your team to work together properly. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to really say for the virtual teams. And I'm going to hand it off to the next student who's going to be speaking about this, Dion.
Thank you. So my experience at BCIT working in virtual teams was kind of blessed, I'd say. Mostly because we took our Principles of Management course in the second semester when everything had happened. So we were learning about working in virtual teams at the same time as starting to work in virtual teams in our other courses. So that was one of the main things that I took away and was kind of lucky to have. I know for other people it was kind of switched around, but it was very lucky for me. Overall, I would say that working in teams is one of the most valuable experiences BCIT gives. You learn lots of communication skills, time management, and this what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to focus more about tips and tricks that I've learned rather than a story, because I think that's really helpful for first years. The first thing that I've learned is what Charlotte kind of said, is about building trust. I would say for the first meeting that you have with your team, try to keep it informal and fun. That way you can get to know the people. Since most likely, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you want to social distance, you can meet in person, but most likely you will be meeting virtually. So it's a good icebreaker, get to know people, set expectations for teamwork, and then you can get right into the team charter for your second meeting or start talking about it in the first one. The second lesson that I learned is to keep a chat separate for schoolwork and for personal chatting. That was one thing that I learned. You don't have to, but I found it was really easy to kind of sift through my phone and see what big things were in the chat versus with my other group with I believe it was my intro to human resources. We were a group of friends and we had a melded chat, and it was crazy to sift through and see what was going on aside from the meeting minutes as well. So I had a WhatsApp group chat for schoolwork, and then I had a messenger chat for like personal things to share memes and other things. And the last lesson that I learned was to stick to a routine meeting time and keep it very structured. Setting a structure for the week helps you plan your tasks around. It also helps if you are, having a day where you can't make it, then you can let your team members know ahead of time. That also would be another thing to discuss, what works best on how short of a notice to move the team meetings, like for if you need to get it canceled or moved. We had our meetings on, I think, Fridays. Usually Fridays at school are the least busy for some people, not everyone. And then you have the weekend to sort of plan out your week and then work on everything through the week, and then kind of check in the middle of the week and see how everything's going. So yeah, that's kind of the three main things that I learned. What Charlotte was what I want to really drive in, that was what Charlotte said, is communication, trust, and technology really go a long way in virtual teams.
That's awesome. I first of all, I have to say, Harbeen, I'm delighted to hear that you are feeling a little bit better about the whole online approach. And Alvin, I agree with you. I think learning online, everything is on your own shoulders. I can't imagine it's only you. You got to get up in the morning. You got to do it. It's really hard. You don't have that group impetus to move from class to class together. So I agree. That's a tough one. The points that you have mentioned about teams. First of all, I'm glad that all of you have mentioned the team charter, and whether you use it or not, it's that exercise of going through and agreeing on various things. I think that's the biggest thing. Sometimes, Harbeen, you have to use it. You have to actually pull through and do the tough things, but a lot of times it just helps you decide, okay, when are we going to meet every week? How frequently are we going to meet? Is it once a week, twice a week, all that kind of stuff. Questions? Have we got any questions from our lovely incoming first-year students for our 3 second-year students? This is an amazing opportunity for you to have these people right here. They've just gone through this. It's pretty amazing that they're here. Any questions from you? Wow, you were very, very clear. Oh, good question. Tanvir is asking, how did you manage your time?
So for me, managing my time, I use Google Calendar. Honestly, that's a lifesaver because you can basically record yourself, all your classes, just have it all pinned down for the following events, and it'll actually help you a lot. And then you can just fill in wherever you have free time. If you have to do any project or assignments, just do that.
Cool. Any other things, Alvin? How did you keep yourself on track?
Well, again, as I mentioned, it's a lot of independence. I'm generally not even the type of person to use an agenda, but because of the transition, I just had to use an agenda. I've even had to pretty much reach out to some of my classmates just for help, just to get on top, or get on track and everything, which is why I also found communication important. So you can make friends and you can just everyone can just help each other out pretty much.
Okay. Dion, anything else that we haven't mentioned on keeping on track?
I'd say, yeah, I kept a calendar. I just did it on my phone. I added notifications to have an extra reminder. Mostly what I did is, because your lecture time and lab time are set in your schedule, but there's not necessarily a live lecture or lab to attend, I ended up doing a lot of my homework and studying during that time. So that's a good way to keep track. And then you also have those free blocks in between that you can manage your time with as well.
Right, right. And I will say, Dion, you make a good point. Your first week when you meet your new instructors, I'm talking to all our incoming students as well as our second year students, you will find out from your instructor, okay, am I expected to be in a virtual classroom? Is this going to be a taped video and I get to watch it whenever I want? And you need to attend that first week very, very clear. Keep notes, because every instructor will be different. It is the way it is. And yes, you need to keep it all straight. Somehow you need to keep it all straight. There's a couple more questions I'm going to go through because we've just got a few minutes left. Just a quick one for the three of you. Did you buy books in hard copy or the e-books? Any preference? It's pretty personal preference, but what did you do?
I got sent PDFs from second years, and then I had some textbooks from the beginning of the semester that I used as well, but it was kind of a mix.
Also, what you can do is there's like a Facebook message thing, just search up BCIT textbooks, and you can find hard copies on that. But if you want to find a PDF, you're most likely going to have to buy it. Or if you have any relationship with any like second year students, just message them and they'll probably send you a PDF.
Yeah, pretty much as Harveen said. I'm not sure if there's a way for you guys to meet any of the second years, but personally, I didn't really pay for any of the textbooks. I just talked to a lot of the second years and they pretty much just emailed me like their PDF version of it. And I pretty much just got all the textbooks from my second years. And that was about it.
Right. So we're going to have to think about that
as well.
Yeah. Okay. We need to make sure that you can connect with your second years. I think that is very, very important. Couple of quick questions here. Let's see. What academic challenges did you face in your first year that you didn't expect prior to starting your program? Anything surprise you?
I guess it was just the workload, because you know it's going to be hard because it is full time, but you just don't know how time consuming it will be, because at one point I didn't have a social life, and that's how it really is, because you do have to dedicate a lot of your time to school, and that's like really important.
Okay. Anybody else?
So pretty much is pretty much what Harveen said. Although BCIT already has a reputation for like giving you a lot of work and like you get a bunch of courses, right? We all know that. I guess one of the main shockers for me is just really it's more the instructors, like just a difference in teaching style for some of them. And like if you find that something isn't right or if you find something is off, like don't be shy. Like, you can just speak up, right? This is you're paying for your education after all. So make sure you guys just understand like what you guys need and what you guys expect, and then bring it up. You don't have to like go really aggressive with them. Just bring it up and then see what you guys can work out. But yeah.
Good point.
Please communicate with your instructors. That's really important, and that's what I did, and that actually helped me a lot.
Good points. Dion, anything that surprised you?
I mean, I know BCIT stands for being crammed into teams, but I was a little bit surprised about how much teamwork there was. Pretty much every course that I had, there was some form of teamwork, and kind of what Alvin was saying as well. The relationship that you can have with your instructors is so much more than any university, really, because in your lab you're going to be with only 20 plus other people, and you can really just go up and talk to them about pretty much anything. And that was one really positive thing that I took from BCIT. Well, I'm going into second year as well.
I think that's important. I'm going to just close off a little bit and hand it back to Carolyn to close this off. Thank you very much, the three of you, Harveen, Alvin, and Dion. Your honesty, your sharing, your tips and tricks, that was just awesome. Thank you so very much. And I will see you again tomorrow night, actually. There we go. And I'm gonna answer the rest of these. Probably just type it through, and I'm gonna hand it over to you, Carolyn, and let you close off so that we don't go over our hour. But wow, what a great.
Yeah,
great,
that's awesome.
well,
Yeah,
great,
good question, guys. Wow, I was like,
yeah.
And on a few of them, somebody asked about the math refresher, and I can't believe,
Yeah.
maybe one of the student remembers if you've taken the math refresher, how long does it take? Do you guys know?
Harbin, you didn't take the math refresher by any chance, did you?
No, we just took business staff.
Yeah.
I know, then I'm thinking I'm not paying attention because I know we answered that question in either the first webinar or the second one. So then go look at the recording and the answer is in there. So, but I can't remember, unfortunately. So anyway, so thank you, Charlotte, and all the students and grad. It's been a lovely time to spend, you know, online with you guys. I think there was some really valuable information. In the chat right now, I'm posting just some information for you. You can always go check out our welcome page, School of Business. There's a new student checklist there that talks about taking the math test, and then it'll give you more information on the math refresher. You'll also have to do a communication English test towards the end of August. And those, especially the communication English test, is really for us to know how many people need more support. It's not a grade. We don't really, you know who got what, but it's just going to identify people that need support. So if you want to go have a look at our welcome page, that would be great. August 20th session, sorry, I don't have it. It's August 10th session is our next session. It's about what's your routine, developing good habits for time management. Hopefully many of you can join us. It's going to be a great session. And I think that's about it for Natalie. Has a last little poll on how valuable the information today was. So if you want to fill that out, that would be wonderful. Great. So thank you very much for filling this in, guys.
Excellent.
Yes, thank you. And again, Charlotte and all the students, and grads, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you, everybody at attend, a great evening. Be kind to yourself and each other. Yeah. Take care of yourself. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Have a great long BC weekend.
Enjoy the sunshine, folks.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.